Royal Commission has provided compelling viewing again this week as Rowena Orr QC grilled some of the country's biggest banking executives. But equally hard to miss has been the bow tie wearing men sitting behind her.
Yeah, the questions of who they are, why they're dressed like that, have intrigued us all. Well, Alex Vukovic is the editor of yourmoney.com.au and he has solved that mystery today, and he joins us now in studio.
Looking sharp.
Fantastic, in the bow tie, as we'd expect for this particular story. You did have to go and buy it specially though, didn't you?
That's right, I've jumped on the bandwagon in solidarity with whistleblowers and victims of bank misconduct.
Yes, although you're revealing too much at this stage in the game, because social media, let's set it up. Social media has just kind of gone really crazy about this the last week. Say, who are these guys? What are they doing there, sitting with the bow ties? 3 of them in a row sometimes?
Yeah, that's right. And it was very hard to ignore because, let's face it, I mean, the Royal Commission throughout the year has had some really spicy moments, a lot of fireworks, but in terms of attire, people are generally dressed pretty similarly, very, very corporate. And so Jeff Morris entered the audience, and it was very noticeable that he was sort of channeling Winston Churchill and wearing a bow tie. And naturally, those who follow the banking RC hashtag went into a bit of a frenzy about why he was wearing this. And having known Jeff and interviewed him over a number of years, I suspected it wasn't just a fashion statement and that there was a little more going on here on a philosophical front.
Yeah, because Jeff Morris is the guy really who's started this whole thing, I think we can kind of put it all back to him.
Yeah, look, in a lot of ways.
The original whistleblowers.
So he blew the whistle a number of years ago. He was a Commonwealth Bank financial planner. He blew the whistle on his colleague, Don Nguyen, or Dodgy Don Nguyen, as he's now termed, and he took it to his local line manager within the bank. He was ignored. He was possibly told to temper his sense of justice, and he then took it to Fairfax, to Adele Ferguson, and enlisted the support of key allies in Parliament like John Wacker Williams and others, and really the rest is history. And certainly without him and with some of the others who've been advocating for this Royal Commission, there's no doubt it wouldn't have happened.
Also, and it struck a chord, obviously, because a lot of other people joined in. Who were they? Were they also important players?
Guys?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So we looked into this, and I spoke to Jeff himself to say, who are these other individuals? And many of them are indeed victims of misconduct themselves. So these are people who have lost their life savings or have in some way over the years been involved in the more nefarious activities of the bank. And they've really been brave as well. I mean, people like Jeff Morris, rather, have come forward, and without them, this wouldn't be happening. But also the everyday victims who really have spoken truth to power. They've written submissions, they've come forward and told their story. So in homage to Jeff Morris and to the other whistleblowers, they decided to wear bow ties as well.
But why bow ties?
Well, interestingly, so Jeff said that the specific bow tie he first wore, it wasn't just to look like Winston Churchill, although he did look rather regal. The specific tie he wore was, he was repping a charity, the Financial Markets Foundation for Children. And Jeff told me that in the 90s, people used to wear these bow ties at charity events, and he said that this was really harking back to a kind of gentler time in the financial services industry when, before it lost its way, and it was a little more customer-centric. That was certainly Jeff's spin on it anyway.
It's interesting.
I think people would debate that, I suppose. I mean, I think the thing is, when you look at some of these surveys and the sentiment around the banks, a lot of older, we looked in this in detail one show, the sentiment around banks from older people, for example, is, they were institutions, and the loss of trust in institutions that have been so important and pillars of society, that's what's been so dreadful about watching all of this unfold. For young people, maybe they just use their bank card every now and then. They don't think of banks as much else. But yeah, that kind of the institutions that we once knew and loved. I guess this is what the era that Jeff Morris is talking about, and he's from that.
Perhaps some rose-coloured glasses slightly from Jeff Morris, in that there's no doubt that misconduct occurred in the 80s and in the 90s, and not just on Wall Street, but in Australia. We had the Wallace inquiry, of course, that led to the Four Pillars policy, and a lot of that was based on, what people thought were already at that time systemic problems in the banking system. So, it's not the case that it wasn't going on. Perhaps what's changed, I mean, the 24-hour media cycle gets a tough rap, perhaps, deservedly so sometimes, but I think that, really those in the media have done a pretty good job at bringing these issues to light. So, this stuff did go on back then, but perhaps not as widely spoken about it as it is now, thanks to people like Jeff Morris.
Yeah, you did a great job on this one. We loved it. It was our favourite story on the yourmoney.com.au website today. Why wouldn't it be? You guys have been covering the Royal Commission very closely today. You've got the live stream, as always. Just one other takeout from today, just quickly.
Yeah, look, it's not all bow ties. We have some hard-hitting analysis, of course, at yourmoney.com.au. Testimony of Shane Elliott, ANZ CEO, really interesting, and that goes into tomorrow as well. Jeff Elliott was probably the first to come out and really apologise in plain speaking language in the last few, throughout the course of the year. And the other banks, he really sort of dragged them with him in terms of having a really upfront and forthright conversation with customers about what went wrong. Arguably, that was a little bit easier for him as well. Firstly, because he came in later as CEO. He wasn't there when some of this misconduct occurred, similarly to Matt Common of the Commonwealth Bank. But also, ANZ, of course, is already down the process of offloading the parts of its business that have been found to be problematic. It's selling its life insurance to Zurich, it's selling its wealth business to IOOF. So ANZ perhaps is in a slightly enviable position in terms of its ability to sort of speak truth.
Heaps more on the website, of course. We love your show of solidarity there with the bow tie, though. Does anyone else suspect that Alex may have just been looking for the moment in his life to wear a bow tie to work, and he just found it today?
I think the same thing is true of Jeff Morris.
Well, now you've got one, you just start peppering it in. We'll look forward to that.
He looks very good in a bow tie, that Alex. Thank you so much, Alex, from the digital editor of yourmoney.com.au. Thank you.